Hey guys, Brian delivers you the goods here. I'm returning to you tonight for this Tuesday album review, and I hope you guys will enjoy this next Tuesday album review. It's gonna be a better album this time for sure. For Lifehouse, Stanley, Climbfall. So I'm gonna discuss what I listened to for this 2002 record, I believe is what it is, and let you know my thoughts on Stanley, Climbfall by Lifehouse. So let's dive into this Tuesday album review tonight. I think it's 2002 or 2003 this album came out, somewhere around there, but you can let me know in the comment section below. But other than that, from what I listened to with Stanley Climbfall, it starts with Spin, which is a very good track. I really enjoyed this. I like the vocals from Wade for sure, and it sounds really strong for the execution, so I was really impressed with this album. Yes, it is a 2002 record. I just looked into it now. But overall, for the drumming in this is pretty strong. The overall execution of the track did very well with Wade singing, and it overall executed fairly well. So, Jason Wade, I meant to say. Jason Wade is the lead singer. I'm sorry if I kept saying Wade. I'm thinking of his last name. But yeah, there was some confusion right there with my remembering band members' names. But other than that, Spin is a very strong track. I really enjoyed this. His vocals shined. Jason White's vocals shined very well. 5 out of 5. Wash is another pretty good track. I really enjoyed this. I'd give it a 5 out of 5 for sure. I think with the execution of this track, the pacing to the track with the drum work and guitar work was pretty strong, and I really enjoyed this, so 5 out of 5 for this one. Sky is Falling is a pretty good one too. I'd give this one a 5 out of 5 as well. The original track's good, and then I'll mention the acoustic later on towards the end of the review. But other than that, Sky is Falling is a 5 out of 5. I like the drumming and the acoustic work in this, and some of the guitar work in this is pretty strong. And Jason Wade's singing potential is very strong too. Excuse my yawning. The next track is Anchor. That's another really good one. I'd give it a 5 out of 5. I enjoyed the overall tone of the track. The overall vocals from Jason Wade are pretty strong, and just execution wise with the drumming and guitar work is very strong. So, really digging this track, another 5 out of 5. Anchor was 5 minutes and 2 seconds, but 5 minutes and some seconds, but it did very well for the execution. Am I Ever Gonna Find Out is a good song, but not one of my favorites. It's gonna get a 4.5 out of 5. I don't know, this one I wasn't really digging too much. I didn't hate it, but I think it's a good song in its own way. It does have its execution flaws with some of the melody structure and all that. So this one's good track, but does have its issues. 4.5 out of 5. It is very short for the runtime, so you're not in for a long track with this one. The next track is Stanley Climbfall. That's a pretty good track for the title track in its own way. It's not the best thing you'd hear, but for a Lifehouse song, it's pretty solid. So 4.75 out of 5 for this one. I do dig the vocals from Jason Wade, and overall drumming and guitar work is fairly solid. Then Out of Breath is a favorite track of mine. Really enjoyed this one for sure. And overall, Jason Wade's singing potential is very strong in this. And execution wise, it did very well for how it sounded, so I think it's a pretty strong track. Out of Breath is a favorite song. I like the chorus when it kicks in. I like the overall harmony to the track, the melody basically. It flows well, so 5 out of 5. Just Another Name is a pretty solid track. I'd give it a 4.75 out of 5. I think Jason Wade's singing potential is very strong in this, and just execution-wise for the song itself, it did fairly well. So 4.75 out of 5. Not my favorite, but still pretty good track in its own way. Take Me Away is a pretty strong track. It's 4 minutes and 48 seconds, but you're in for quite a banger from time to time. It does have its good moments in the chorus, and its drumming and guitar work is very strong, and overall this track did fairly well. So I really dig it, 5 out of 5. Then we get to Take My Precious. I almost said the same song name. To recorrect myself, My Precious is the next track. That's a pretty good song, but you can easily make fun of it like the Lord of the Rings thing, like My Precious kind of thing. I'm just joking, but still. Song's pretty solid, and I think with Jason Wade's singing potential, it's good for how it sounds. So 4.75 out of 5. Empty Space is a strong track. The runtime for this track was pretty lengthy, but it executed fairly well for how it sounded. So I'd give this a 4.75 out of 5. Not my personal favorite track, but I do dig it for how it sounds. It is a least favorite, but it's not the very least favorite track I was digging for this record overall. I think it's pretty good in its own way. Sorry, I was petting my cat over there, so yeah, that's what I was doing. Empty Space is a 4.75 out of 5. Then we get to The Beginning. That one is a pretty solid track to officially close the record for the regular edition, but I'm reviewing the extra 2 tracks on this record, so it's a 4.75 out of 5. Nice closing track for the regular edition, but overall it panned out alright for Jason Wade's singing performance, and execution-wise, this track did alright. How Long is a pretty good song in its own way. I think for the runtime it went for, it's fairly solid. For 5 minutes and 10 seconds, you're in for a solid soft rock track. Just a rock track that you can get on board with. And they overall do very well with the drumming and guitar work in this. Chorus is the highlight, and overall the verses are fairly solid, so 4.75 out of 5. And finally, Sky is Falling, the acoustic version, is the closing track to the record, and it's a pretty solid closing track. So I'd give this a 5 out of 5 for this one. It did fairly well for how it sounded, and Jason Wade's singing performance is pretty strong in this. So, and just for the acoustic version itself, the acoustic guitar work in this is pretty nice to close out this record. So 5 out of 5. Overall, production, mixing, and execution-wise, I think Lifehouse, Stanley, Climbfall is a good record. I would definitely recommend you guys check this out if you have not listened to it. And I'm just doing this as a throwback for the Tuesday album review, just to give you guys something to enjoy. But overall, it did fairly solid, this record. And for the execution, yeah, there was a few critiques I had with this record, like Am I Ever Gonna Find Out was my biggest critique I had with this record. And some of the other 4.75 out of 5 tracks did fairly solid, but did ruin a little bit of the reception for the record. But overall, in the execution of it all, I think Stanley Climbfall is a good record, and if I were to give it a score by Lifehouse Stanley Climbfall, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. It's a good listen. Definitely recommend you guys check it out for yourself to see what you think of it. Everyone else has their own opinion when it comes to albums, music, movies, etc. It just depends on the person if they like it or not. But for Lifehouse, I think they're a fairly solid rock band, and they put out good material. I've enjoyed their material. The last release they did was like an EP or something, but then they just didn't release anything after that. But overall, yeah, Stanley Climbfall Stanley Climbfall by Lifehouse. 8 out of 10 for this Tuesday album review by Lifehouse Stanley Climbfall. I hope you enjoyed this Tuesday album review for Season 7, Episode 6 tonight, and thank you guys for watching.